I was setting up my laptop for the PTA budget presentation when my wife Jennifer leaned over and whispered, "Make sure you don't embarrass yourself tonight, David. The whole school community will be watching." She was sitting 2 seats away from Brad Collins, the father of our son's classmate, maintaining the careful distance they thought would hide their 3-month affair from the 40 parents gathered in Roosevelt Elementary's auditorium. "I'll try to keep things interesting," I replied, testing the microphone and adjusting the projector settings. What Jennifer didn't know was that tonight's presentation was going to be far more interesting than anyone expected, especially for the parents who thought they'd been conducting their affair invisibly within our tight-knit school community. Let me explain how a heartbroken father turned a routine PTA meeting into the public destruction of 2 families who'd been betraying their spouses with each other. My name is David Chen, and I'm just a regular dad who volunteers as PTA treasurer because I'm good with spreadsheets and thought it would help me stay involved in my son's education. I never imagined I'd use that position to expose my wife's affair in front of every parent who mattered in our children's lives. Jennifer had been acting strangely since the beginning of the school year. Sudden enthusiasm for PTA committees she'd never cared about before. Volunteer shifts that seemed to require extensive coordination with other parents. Most telling of all, private text messages that made her smile in ways I hadn't seen in years. The confirmation came when I found her phone unlocked on our kitchen counter, displaying a conversation with Brad PTA, that had nothing to do with school fundraising and everything to do with how they couldn't wait to be alone together again. Brad Collins was married to Susan, a sweet woman who taught 3rd grade at a different school and had no idea her husband was scheduling budget meetings with another parent that involved hotel rooms instead of spreadsheets. I'd been building tonight's presentation for weeks, but not the one everyone was expecting. "Thank you all for coming to our monthly PTA meeting," I began, standing at the podium while Jennifer and Brad sat in different sections of the auditorium, playing their roles as uninvolved community members. "Tonight we're reviewing the fall fundraising budget and discussing upcoming school events." The first few slides were legitimate, actual budget numbers, fundraising goals, volunteer schedules. Jennifer relaxed in her seat, probably relieved that her husband was handling his presentation competently without embarrassing her in front of their social circle. "Now, I want to share some communication challenges we've been having with parent coordination," I continued, advancing to a slide titled Effective Parent Communication. As you know, clear communication is essential for successful PTA operations. However, sometimes parents develop alternative communication methods that can create confusion about their actual involvement in school activities. Jennifer's face began showing concern as she sensed something in my tone that didn't match the innocent slide content. "For example," I said, clicking to the next slide, "here are some recent communications between PTA parents about their volunteer coordination." The slide displayed Jennifer's text messages with Brad Collins in full detail, projected in 18-point font for 40 parents to read simultaneously. "Can't wait for our budget meeting at the Marriott tomorrow. Room 237 is reserved under your name." The auditorium went completely silent. Jennifer's face went white. Brad Collins was already standing up, trying to leave, but his wife Susan was staring at the screen in dawning horror. "As you can see," I continued calmly, advancing to the next slide showing more messages, "some parents have been very creative in their approach to PTA involvement." The next set of texts appeared. "David suspects nothing. He thinks I'm actually interested in school fundraising. We should be more careful about meeting during school hours. Your husband is so naive. Susan bought my story about needing to work late on PTA projects. We have until midnight." Parents throughout the auditorium were pulling out phones to record the chaos. Children's voices could be heard in the hallway, and Susan Collins was sobbing while staring at evidence of her husband's betrayal projected for the entire school community to witness. "The final slide in this communication review," I said, my voice steady despite my breaking heart, "shows the level of respect these parents have for the families they're betraying." The last set of messages appeared on screen. "I feel sorry for Susan and David. They're so focused on being good parents while we're having the time of our lives behind their backs. After the divorce, we should send them thank you cards for being such convenient cover stories." Jennifer was crying now, mascara streaming down her face as 40 parents stared at her with expressions ranging from disgust to pity. Brad Collins had abandoned his wife entirely, fleeing the auditorium while Susan sat alone, humiliated in front of everyone who mattered in their children's educational community. "This concludes our communication review," I said, disconnecting my laptop from the projector. "I think we can all agree that clear, honest communication is essential for maintaining trust within our school community." The aftermath was swift and brutal. Within an hour, every parent at Roosevelt Elementary knew about Jennifer and Brad's affair. Within a day, the story had spread to every family in our school district. Within a week, both Jennifer and Brad's children were facing questions and whispers from classmates whose parents had witnessed their family's public destruction. Jennifer tried to approach me in the parking lot after the meeting, but the damage was complete. You destroyed our children's reputation over a mistake, she sobbed. You destroyed our children's family for an affair, I replied. I just made sure everyone knew what kind of mother they had. Those parents don't matter. Those parents are our children's community, Jennifer. They're the families our kids will grow up with. And now they all know that their classmate's mother is someone who betrays her family and mocks her husband behind his back. Susan Collins filed for divorce the next morning. Jennifer and I entered counseling, but the trust was gone, not just between us, but between our family and the entire school community that had witnessed her betrayal. 6 months later, both our children had transferred to different schools, unable to escape the whispers and stares from families who remembered the night their parents' affair became community entertainment. Was it worth it? Jennifer asked as we packed up our house to move to a district where our children could start fresh. You tell me, I replied. You chose a few months of adultery over our children's ability to attend school without shame. Was it worth it? Sometimes revenge isn't about being smarter than your betrayer. It's about making sure the community that matters most understands exactly what kind of person broke their family apart.